Welcome back. Now, let's talk about issues to focus on, especially in regards with socio-economic and political issues. These are few points which I would like you to find about more. The first, prevention of land alienation from tribal to non-tribal. Review. Second, review of National Forest Policy and Forest Conservation Act 1980. Third, provision of clean drinking water and medical facilities in tribal areas. Fourth, cases of ineffective rehabilitation of tribal displaced on account of setting up of development projects. Fifth, what are the legal measures to curb the activities of money lenders and traders by effective implementation of law and regulations? Sixth, child and infant mortality in tribal belt. And lastly, what is the government doing for upgradation of tribal skills? Now, let's move on to the socio-economic development in tribal areas or the tribal population. In terms of socio-economic development, two groupings of tribal development has happened in India. One grouping consists of tribal population that have assimilated into the mainstream culture. They have undergone acculturation to varying extents and in many instances are not even a primary agrarian community. They have been the chief beneficiaries of much of the Indian government tribal development programs that create opportunities for people from tribal communities. However, there is another grouping of tribals, such as the Dongriya Kondh of the Niamgiri Hills, battling against encroachment by mining companies such as Vedanta, who still suffer the effect of the oppression land policies that led to their dispossession and impoverishment in modern India, and some of whom who still live in forest or work in shifting agriculture or as agricultural labours. Then comes the Forest Conservation Act 1980. That was a response to a crisis of deforestation as a result of British colonial legislative infrastructure that seems to justify the historic disposition of rights of tribal communities over forest that have alienated tribal communities in India against the government. The protest over this act propelled the government to table the National Forest Policy. The year 1988 saw for the first time that the livelihood needs of the tribal communities in India in the forest areas are important than the commercial needs. Other than addressing the livelihood needs of forest dwelling communities with the provision of forest related employment for individuals from tribal communities, the Act also offers protection for the customary law of tribal communities with respect to forests. Forest and tribal people coexist. We need to understand that. After recognition of settlement rights for tribal over forest land, the early 90s experienced pressure being put on the government by activist and human rights movements to bring these into practices. Their activities culminated in the 73rd Amendment of the Constitution that offered decentralized governance in rural areas and instituted the Bhunia community to extend tribal rights over resources by providing the provision of amendment to the Schedule 5 areas. Based on the recommendation of the Bhuria Committee, the Parliament passed the Panchayat Extension to Schedule Areas Act of 1996, which is known as the PESA Act 1996, that recognized a Gram Sabha system for tribal communities and recognized the customary right of tribals over community resource such as land and forest and water. I hope you got a clear understanding of how Gram Sabha system works. PESA Act is very important when it comes to tribal development. However, till contemporary times, the Act has not been fully enforced as regards to tribal population. Since then, many policies have been instituted to provide rights to tribal communities in India, such as the policy of joint forest management. I am sure you must have read about joint forest management when you were in schools. Joint forest management that have not been able to adequately delineate the rights of tribal population in rural, remote and forest areas. Can you give me some ideas about joint forest management? Have a discussion within your peers about joint forest management. The debate over tribal exclusivity as against tribal assimilation usually takes place over the issue of sovereignty of the tribal group. The tribal movements in central India, such as those of Bastar and among the Dongriya Kond, take the issues of displacement and erosion of livelihood as the focal point. I hope you understand that. Similarly, many tribes in northeastern India, such as the Bodos and the Caribbees, claim rights over land, claiming to be the original inhabitants of the land area they occupy. The problem in India among many tribal communities is one of alienation, and that is intensified by the process of globalization and homogenization. Tribal assimilation is a problem, especially when attempts towards bringing individuals in sync with modern life results in a reactionary movement towards essentialism. These are heavy words, but I hope you are trying to understand. This comes with a lack of imagination and development thoughts in India, and that's why we have rural managers like you who want to bring about a change in life of these communities who still cut off from the main section of society. In the next topic, we will discuss about the problems of tribal women and children. Till then, happy learning. Thank you.